From the East Bay to the North Bay, through wine country and up the scenic Northern California coast. This is Toastmasters District 57.
Well, hello! This is the D57 Podcast, keeping members of the D57 informed and inspired, with hosts George Thompson and Donna Walters. Today's guests are District Table Topics contest winners. Sonia Bhatia, first place, Julie St. Germaine, second place, and Chris Lele, the third place. Let's get to know a little bit about what do you do to prepare for Table Topics contest competition. Hello and congratulations, people. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you start out? How long have you been in Toastmasters? And we'll get into the preparing questions in a second. But let's start with Julie. Julie, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
I'm starting in on my 16th month with Toastmaster. I joined April 1st of 2025, no fooling. But before that, I did improvisation and taught improvisation beginning. So I've done a lot of theater. I've written and directed plays, and I've also directed an improv ensemble and been in a few myself.
Excellent. And Chris, how did you start out?
My journey is about 3 years old. I started back in March or 2023 in March, and I got there. I didn't really have an improv or theater background, at least in any professional sense. But my friends had always told me, like, you should do something like improv or Toastmasters because you'd be so good at it. But life being what it is, there was really never this opening or a reason for me to jump into the Toastmasters ring. But I was going through a career transition at a certain point a few years ago. And then I got to thinking about, what can I do right now in my community where I'm interacting with people in real time? And this is a few years post-pandemic, where face to face, I'm doing something that I would enjoy. And that's when those conversations I've had over the years with people saying, try Toastmasters, that little light bulb went on. And I said, you know what, let's give it a go. And that's, I guess the rest, as they say, is history.
Very good. And Sonia, how was your start?
Well, I joined Toastmasters the middle of last year. So I have been there for about, I would say, 8 to 9 years now. And the reason why I joined Toastmasters is very similar to the way Chris mentioned, is that it was during the time when I was in a career transition. And I was really seeking more meetings with other human beings where I can have conversations and chats with them, and really be able to express my thoughts in a more articulate manner. And that's when I joined Toastmasters, and it has really helped me a lot.
Excellent. Well, apparently it has helped all of you. Let's get down to some basic questions about preparing. Table topics, what kind of thinking process do you use to organize your table topics response? Let's start with Julie.
Well, the first thing that comes to me is a little bit of brainstorming. I had a table topic. If you were in an elevator with a celebrity, who would the celebrity be and what would you say to them in 1 minute? So I brainstormed, what celebrities do I know anything about and have feelings for? So I came up with Meryl Streep, and then I just shared my impressions of seeing her for the first time in The French Lieutenant's Woman, and then looking at some of her other roles and how they affected me. So the key for me starts with brainstorming and then narrowing focus after that.
Very good. And Chris, what is your thinking process?
Yeah, I like starting with the end as well. I think, Julie, you kind of touched on that. Like, where am I trying to get to? If it's Meryl Streep in an elevator or a celebrity in an elevator, how do I work backwards to something? I also combine that with stories from my life, and I think what story would mesh well onto this table topic question. Now, if I can't conjure up a relevant story, as sometimes happens, that's when I go to the, okay, what is that endpoint where I want to get the audience to so I can make sure to, land with a flourish. And then I get to the starting point. Okay, now how from the starting point do I get to that end? And that usually has to, of course, land within 2-ish minutes, but I can most of the times pull that off.
Excellent. And then finally, Sonia, what is your thinking process?
Well, my thinking and preparation really starts from my everyday life, where I have two kids, and they oftentimes ask me for a story, and they will give me a topic, and I have to come up with a long nighttime story for them. And for them, it's very relaxing to hear that. And in order to make those stories, I have to ensure that I really live in the present and feel every moment, turning every vacation into maybe how it would turn into a movie, every situation into something that I can tell a story about. Having those stories in the toolkit really helps me. And while I am in the table topics contest or in a table topics meeting, I ensure to take that 15 seconds pause before I get started, gather up my thoughts, ground myself, and then getting into the table topic itself, where I would start off with a point, tell why I'm making the point, give examples, and then tell the point again, mention the point again, which is also called a PREP framework: point, reason, example, point. So that's how I approach it.
Okay, very good. I see that. Now, what is the difference between doing table topics in a meeting or in a contest? Chris.
Well, there's the bright lights and the very strange space that you're in with, 5x people looking at you expectantly. I think even in your typical, weekly Toastmaster space, though, it's hard not to feel a fluttering in your heart, not to feel a little bit of hairs going up at the back of your neck because you really don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what's going to come out. There's expectations, and it's also a contest. At least at our club, there's always a vote for first place. So it's never like, oh, I can just cruise here. I mean, I have tried by not using the word of the day and going way over the 2 minutes, but they always find a way to like include me anyway. So don't try that at my club at least. But that's that's what I find is distinctions there.
And Sonia, how do you find the difference between a meeting and a contest?
Actually, I find it harder in a meeting because in the meeting, I am surrounded by people who know me and they also know my weaknesses and they know where I can falter. So it becomes a little harder, but then also it becomes a proper practicing ground for me to practice my table topics because then I have my team members or my fellow Toastmasters to point out what I did wrong. Versus in a table topics contest, like the way Chris mentioned, is just working with the nervousness and of staying grounded and coming up with a topic and talking about it in an articulate manner. So that's what I feel is the difference between those two meetings and a contest.
Okay. And Julie, finally to you, what is the difference to you between a meeting and a contest?
Well, I'll say that there is always a certain amount of fear. But when I teach classes, I tell my students fear is just adrenaline waiting to be used. Turn that fear into adrenaline. Let it make you bigger. Let it make you stronger. Let it give you more power. When you're afraid, you have more visual acuity, you have more strength, you have a faster response. So take that and use it. Don't be afraid of being afraid. And the difference for me is I worry a lot more about going over time in a contest because you get disqualified if you go over or under. So there's a little bit more leeway in a club meeting than there is in a contest. And of course, I have to agree with Chris. There is a certain amount of fear. Yes, your heart is pounding. It's exciting. But That's the joy of it. I mean, that's why people jump out of airplanes and go surfing is, you want that adrenaline rush and you want to challenge yourself when you're not 100% comfortable. So that's my difference.
Interesting. Yes, very good. Now, should you primarily be focused on the person, the judges, or the audience when doing a table topic? Let's start with Sonia.
I sense that when I am on a stage and I'm looking at so many other eyes that are looking at me, I try to first ground myself by focusing on myself. And once I have come up with the topic that I want to talk about, then I focus upon the audience. And I ensure that I don't focus just on one person and that I keep looking around the audience so that I'm able to make a connection with everyone within the audience. And yeah, that's my process.
Julie, who do you focus on? The person, the judges, or the audience?
Well, Toastmasters is very clever. They don't point out who the judges are. They try to keep us in the dark there so we're not just playing to specific people. So for me, the magic happens when I connect with the audience. I like making genuine eye contact and connection and going through the room and making that connection when it's flowing, when you're absolutely in the moment. And for me, that was when I was describing my time working in the Oakland City Jail. When I was answering that interview question, I felt a tremendous connection. There was an energy and a spirit from the audience coming to me and from me coming to them. So the audience is the source of my strength.
Excellent. And finally, Chris, who do you concentrate and focus on? Person, judges, or the audience?
I'd echo what Julie said. It's definitely the audience because of that connection. And that connection can be almost metaphysical, as Julie was mentioning, or it can be pragmatic. Oh, wait a second. They didn't laugh, and I was trying to land a joke bomb there. I need to make sure that I'm using the audience as that barometer. Is this working? Is this not? Eye contact is key. Moving around after a sentence or so to another person is huge as well. You want to get the lay of the land. If you fixate on one person, A, you're going to scare that person, which is never a good thing, unless it was my wife who was actually in attendance at the Toastmasters. I think she would have gotten a kick out of that. But I think really move around the room almost randomly. And to Julie's point, you might actually land on a judge as long as you don't stare at them too long. That could be a good thing.
Okay, I got that. Now, what is the best way to organize your response when you're given a question or statement? What's the best way to organize your response? And we'll start with Julie.
That is one of the areas that I'm working on, honestly, is organizing that topic. I really appreciated what Sonia said about using a method and developing an opinion and then supporting it with an example and then structuring down from points. I tend to do that more on instinct. So for me, it's going with the brainstorming, feeling something that resonates, that touches my heart and moves me, and then going from there. What I did to practice was see how long 30 seconds was when I see the red light, because wrapping it up appropriately in a well-structured way was a challenge for me.
Excellent. And Chris, how do you organize your responses?
If I'm able to come up with a story, then I know that there's an endpoint to that story that lands whatever that table topic question is. And then to Julie's point, I want to make sure that the red light hasn't come on or it's just come on because that's the tie-in. That's when you could wrap it up. Otherwise, you're just telling a story for a story's sake. You want to make sure there's a clear tie-in that the audience that really lands with the audience so that they can appreciate why you told that anecdote in the first place.
And finally, Sonia, how do you organize your responses?
So, really not overthinking it. And like the way Julie mentioned, just it coming out as an instinct where you have a hook, a body, and then making that point again while staying anchored within the question, because oftentimes that nervousness can get over you and you could forget the question. So keeping a strong hold on the question that was asked, anchoring on that, starting with a hook, having a body, and then ending it by reiterating that question that was asked. So that's how I tend to organize it. And oftentimes, there have been table topic questions where I have not really had experience in that space or area, but I still need to speak about it. And during that time, I lean into my creative side and I just come up with a story that resonates with people. And I connect the pieces, make a nice, engaging story out of it, and make my point, and then end it and wrap it in a more structured way.
Excellent. Now, what kind of preparation do you do before the table topics contest? How do you get in shape? Chris.
So I used ChatGPT. And how I used it, don't think I cheated. Don't think I figured out these topics. I said, hey, I'm going to this District 57 competition. I have no idea what the table topics competition is like. Just throw something at me. And how I did this was on the drive over. There's a voice mode. It was hands-free. Don't worry, I wasn't texting or talking to Chatty while driving 80 miles an hour. But what I did was say, hey, in real time to this voice feature, give me a topic. And it would ask me, and it has a British accent. That's because I said it that way. Say, Chris, what would happen? What is the most embarrassing experience you've ever had where you actually learned something? So there I'm driving on the way to the Toastmaster table topics, and I have to think of the actual response, and I would give it a full length, 1 or 2 minute response, and then ask for its feedback. And it would, in its British voice, correct me accordingly, and of course, praise me where I did well. And that was essentially it. So
Okay. And now, Sonia, how do you prep for a contest?
Well, my Toastmasters club members have been really good. They would There would be meetings where it would be like a little crash course for me in table topics where they would keep giving me really difficult table topics, the ones that have been covered previously in the district contests or something that they think is of a higher difficulty level. And then I have to keep answering all the table topics back to back, which I think really preps my brain in how to stay alert, how to stay on my toes, and how to quickly think on my feet and be able to come up with a structured way of communicating that. So, thanks to my club members for doing that. That's how I prepare.
Excellent. Very good.
Okay.
Donna.
Do you practice table topic skills other than at a club meeting? I think you mentioned some of those things in your previous conversations.
Yes. During my job, I'm retired now, but when I worked as a safety professional on the corporate level, I would be given a topic and I'd be asked to talk about ergonomics or to discuss accident trends and issues, but I would always leave room to improvise. I like to connect with audiences. I love it when people ask me questions. If I'm facing an audience and I have a choice between an audience that's angry and an audience that's just sitting there, kind of drifting, I would rather have an angry audience because to me, they still care. They still have passion. And if you listen with respect, oftentimes when you genuinely hear them, relay what they said, indicating that you heard them, active listening in the Toastmasters program, then you can help them find ways to solutions and help them brainstorm and create possibilities instead of just problems. So for me, there's a basic outline of a speech. I know key topics, statistical trends that I want to discuss, but I really look for the human element to make it relevant to the people that I'm speaking to.
Okay, Chris.
yeah, if you could rephrase that question one more time.
Okay, you practice table topic skills other than just at club meetings.
Got it. I am a corporate trainer, so I train teams in real time. So definitely resonates with what Julie just said. And I'm not one of those, and no knock to those who are, but I'm not one who just drones on according to some script in a very charismatic way, making sure nobody interrupts me. I really try to invite people in and ask me questions. I almost sound just a second ago, Julie, when you were talking, it almost sounded like me. Like I love when people ask me. But just leaving that room there because there is an improvisational skill going on there. You have no idea what questions they're going to ask. And I've gotten someone's totally out of left field, but there's something fun in that sometimes. And the whole idea of totally out of left field, that is really the essence of table topics, because you never know what you're going to get.
Okay, Sonia.
Sure. So I am a user experience researcher. What that means is that I work with users to ensure that they are able to use digital systems that have been created by engineers. So here it becomes very important for me that the questions that I ask them are questions that are understandable very clearly. And I have come to learn that pattern of asking questions in a way that the other person understands. Similarly, I have really honed my skill of also listening to what they are saying and truly understanding the gist of what they are trying to say. So, in this kind of conversation, it becomes very important that I'm very clear in expressing the question I'm asking or the idea that I'm trying to communicate. So, I think on a daily basis that helps me, as well as my little story about, you know, telling stories to my kids also helps me outside of table topics club meetings. And then coming back to my Toastmasters club, that helps me. So these are the three things that really help me.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, what is your favorite part of competing?
I'll jump in on that. The favorite part for me is having that bigger venue, being able to connect with more people and people who don't know me. I love networking. I love meeting people. And when I look at other people's speeches, table topics, and prepared, I never fail to learn something. There's a matter of technique. There's a stylistic piece that's interesting. And there's a fresh take on a topic that's different from mine. So I love the smorgasbord of talent and point of view in a bigger competition than there is just at a home meeting.
Okay, Chris?
I think surprising myself, and this might go for table topics in general, but definitely at the competition level, you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth because you don't essentially know the topic. And of course, this can also go in a negative direction if nothing genuinely coherent comes out of your mouth. But it's exciting because you are on that edge. And again, there's a little bit of adrenaline, but as Julie was pointing out, you can use that to your advantage. And magical things can sometimes happen where you surprise yourself with what you came up with. Because there are times in those first 3 to 5 seconds where it can feel like a chasm, a bottomless pit opens up before you, and you're about to fall in. And then suddenly the spark comes, and then you see your way across that bottomless chasm to the other side of the applause.
Okay. And very quickly, because we're running out of time, Sonia?
Yeah, I totally agree with Chris's point, and I think he said it very beautifully. And that is about surprising your own self when you're standing on that stage in front of so many people looking at you. And this is such a great opportunity where you can express your ideas, communicate it to such a large audience, and truly, yes, surprising yourself. That everything that is coming out of my mouth, it did really mean something and that it did impact other people and influence their way of thinking. Uh, that is what I think is a great reward by itself. And also the adrenaline rush and the excitement of being there on the stage and being able to see so many people and communicating to them.
Okay. Over to you, George, to take us out.
Thank you. And we thank Sonia, Julie, and Chris for their allowing us to do this podcast and sharing their insights into how to prepare for Table Topics contests. And thank you to District 57 and our podcast team for their support in this endeavor, Lisa Thompson and Hans Thoma. This has been a D57 production. Thank you.